Welcome to the Matawan Aberdeen Regional School District's regular action meeting on June 26, 2023. Time is now 6:30 p.m. The New Jersey Open Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or agreed upon. In accordance with the provision of this Act, the Matawan Aberdeen Regional School District Board of Education advertised this meeting on June 7, 2022 in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger. This notice was sent to the municipal clerks of the Borough of Matawan and the Township of Aberdeen and the Matawan Aberdeen Public Library. The notice was also placed on the district's website. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Case, can we please have roll call?
Mr. Ahern, Ms. Vilas.
Here.
Ms. Gershner.
Here.
Mr. Montone.
Here.
Ms. Pell.
Here.
Ms. Burrell.
Here.
Ms. Warnicki.
Here.
Ms. Martinez.
Here.
Mrs. Scully.
Here.
Can I get a motion and a second for Committee of the Whole meeting minutes May 8th, 2023, Executive Session meeting minutes May 8th, 2023, Regular Action meeting minutes May 22nd, 2023, Executive Session meeting minutes May 22nd, 2023.
All motion. I'll second.
Roll call.
Ms. Vilas.
Yes.
Mrs. Gershner.
Yes.
Mr. Montone.
Yes.
Ms. Pell.
Yes.
Ms. Burrell.
Yes.
Ms. Warnicki.
Yes.
Ms. Martinez.
Yes.
Mrs. Scully.
Yes. Okay, and for the superintendent's report tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Case.
Good evening. We have a presentation this evening by Strauss Esme, and that is our policy and regulation company. And we will then turn it over to Phil, Sandy, and Laura for their presentation. Thank you.
Hello, there we go. Hi, everybody. I'm Sandy. Thank you, first of all, for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Sandy Nicastro, along with Phil Nicastro, the owner of Strauss Esme Associates, and Laura Nicastro, or Laura Simonson, sorry, part of our legal research team at Strauss Esme. So it's a pleasure to be here. Just we thought when the superintendent asked us to come today, we know there's new board members and maybe old board members who don't know who Strauss Esme is, who we are, what we do, and how we do it. So I'll give you a little brief history lesson, and if we get long, do one of these. Ms. Case, do this, because I talk a lot, but when Phil gets up, he might talk a little longer. So, is he making a face behind me? So anyway, I'll give you a little history lesson to see who Strauss is and kind of who we are. Strauss Esme has really been around since 1972. And we are actually the third generation of owners of Strauss Esme Associates. Phil and I are partners in life and in business, and we acquired Strauss in 2001. We acquired Strauss with 170 school clients, and as of today, I always check before I leave to come to a meeting, we have 576 schools as clients. I put in your packets tonight your Monmouth County neighbors, clients, and I also put all of our clients, that for some reason need to read that, but so you can see that we truly have earned a lot of respect throughout the community of education, because we feel that we do it well, and we think one of our best things we do is customer service, but I'll get back to it a little bit. By way of background, I'm a retired school business ed teacher. Phil is he retired from Brick Schools as a superintendent, but also served as a BA. And he also is licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So he has, I think, one of his benefits is not only being an attorney, no offense to Mr. Rubin over there, but I think having sat in that seat for many years, knows how boards work, sees how it is to sit in the chair when parents come into your office. So I think his expertise is amazing. We are located in the Toms River. We have 10 full-time staff. We also have another attorney on staff. Laura's not official retired teacher, but she taught for 13 years. Also has her 2 masters and 1 in master's education administration. So she brings a lot to the table. Almost everybody in our office, except for one, has some kind of background. One of our support staff actually worked in the AD's office in a high school. I go, I don't know how you did that, because that's always like a crazy place. Someone was a substitute teacher. Someone was a special ed teacher. So we all value and appreciate what you do every day. especially you folks, you get paid double every year, I know, for all that your salary. But it's tough, and when superintendent's office is called, or their administrative assistants call, we know typically a board's looking for something, a board member is calling the superintendent assistant's calling, and what we say, whatever we can do to make your life easier, let us know. We will email you something, fax it over, copy it for you. I've met people at the John Bon Jovi rest area. I've been to Short Hill Malls. We do whatever it takes to make your lives, those folks' lives easier. Just a little bit about what we do on a daily basis. I put in your packets a couple things. I have like my little visual aids, just so you see, as part of a Strauss Esme client, you are what we call a pass service client, so policy alert support system client. And part of that is you receive these policy alerts. About 5 or 6 a year, maybe 10 to 12 policies are revised. And we always send this out with these we still mail it. People go, why do you still mail it? Because in the superintendent's office, I can't imagine how many emails they get a day. And often some of these policies that are being changed or revised are timely in nature. So those emails, it's easy, I miss emails. It's easy, but if this comes across someone's desk, at least it's like, oh, we got to look at this. All this information is always available on our website to download in Word format. However, we mail these out to you. The summary pages tell you what policy we're changing, but then inside it also gives a brief summary statement of why we are changing it, based on a statute, based on a code change, based on NJ, the Department of Ed guidance, any case precedent, some type of a ruling for the School Ethics Commission, et cetera, et cetera. So we send you out. So I just put these cover sheets in here. I didn't want to put the whole packet because it's this thick and I didn't want to kill any more trees. But then behind this, when we mail it out, we also send policies that correspond with this, with any bold text of anything that's changing that has to come in. Also, we do strike-through tests of what has to come out. So the board knows what are those changes, and then the summary pages are why those changes. Often we do get calls, Laura can vouch to that, well, why are we doing this? Why does this have to say this? Is this mandated? Why do we need to do that information? So they'll always talk about the research that went into that and why we created these policies, revised the policies, or even all the COVID policies we're now abolishing. Why are those being abolished? And Phil will address that in a little bit. So these come out, you probably update 70 to 100 policies a year based on changes mostly in statute and code. So that's how that information comes out. Sometimes things are timely in nature, as I said. So the threat assessment policy, the school threat assessment team's policy, the school district has to have in place, which is now available, by the way, for download, was told that you need it for this upcoming school year. The Department of New Jersey Department of Education was going to provide their guidance for it. We still do not have that even as of today. But sometimes if something's timely in nature, we'll bypass the alert and put that out early. So this is available online. We have what we call an alert system. So all of our clients get an alert saying that threat assessment policy, and I put it in your packet along with the summary, is now available for download. So you folks basically have 2 months for a first reading and a second reading to get it in place for September of 2023. Another part of the service that we do is we send out monthly this New Jersey School Digest. And I put just random copies, a little different copies so everybody can see. And this is really a summary of major decisions affecting education. We put the summaries out of court cases that are sometimes ethics decisions, Commissioner of Education decisions. We just did some federal laws that changed regarding flag flying and those kinds of things. So you can read the summaries. All these cases we do, there's a number to the right, corresponding number, and that's codified to our policy. So if you're looking up the board member qualifications, prohibited acts, and code of ethics, bylaw 0142, you're looking at your bylaw. In that bylaw, there's a link right to this digest case as well. So it's right in there. It's good. We always say we never replace your board attorney, but sometimes you could supplement it, and you might say, the superintendent could say, oh, did you know, Mr. Rubin, there's a case I just read about. This might help whatever case we could be involved in somewhere along the line. So we send those out 11 times a year, and we only do it once in July and August because there's not that information released from the commissioner's office to do that. We also have, I just put a little thing on a flyer, why Strauss Esme, why do we different, basically, he's our only competitor, but our only major competitor would be New Jersey School Boards Association. They're a great organization. They do a lot of things. All we do is policy and regulation consulting. We do some in-services. I know some of your folks came to, we have an annual seminar, but it's all based on policy issues. So we will go do HIB training in the falls. We just did some FMLA training in the fall. We do our annual school seminar that's based on any policies or hot topics in education. But that's all we do. And we think what we do the best is we try to get back to, I talk about customer service, our staff is awesome, and we try to get back to the day you call, and the only reason, if someone's out, they're out on vacation, someone else will try and jump in, and if we can't get back to you that day, it's because Phil, Peter, Laura said we need to do a little research on this. Let us look this up, let us get back to you. So we don't want to make a snap judgment on something either, but we think that's one of our best things. We also provide you're now existing client, but initially, when we initially developed the manuals, we do policies with corresponding regulations. About 2/3 of our policies do have regulations. The policies are what the board says you must do. For example, substance abuse policy. Your policy says if a child's under the influence, someone must check them, call the parent, etc. But the corresponding regulation is really written for we call it the building level principle. Who's going to have to follow along? What do I need to do? I can't get the parent. All right, I can't get the parent. What do I do next? Next, I have to call the emergency contact. Can't get the emergency contact. So that's really the regulation is how to implement what the board says the policy must do. So that's the difference of those two things. So we provide those, which I don't know for sure. We don't believe school boards does, but this is all we do. And also our web-based product, our online website, which hosts our policies and regulations, any updates in the policies, and all those policies as well. I'm just going to give you, I can show you a quick demo of the website, or do you want to? Is that okay? Okay. So Laura's going to show. We just logged in as a random school district, and I have 12 pairs of glasses. One to see here, one to see there. So she volunteered to do that for me. Let me just tell that never. Yeah, so it's okay. So on our website, we just show you on one side when you log in, here is the policy alerts that are coming out. We just put on the bottom any update, any news, something that's a timely basis. Because sometimes you will, like Dr. Micah might go to the Monmouth County Roundtable, Superintendent's Roundtable, and they say you need a threat assessment policy. We get every superintendent from Monmouth County calling us, so we try to, not that we don't like to talk to everybody, but if we put it on our website, this is coming out, that kind of answers a lot of questions, so we have that information. Laura, can you go to our policy alert tab? So the policy alert tab is what secretarially can be downloaded, these policy alerts that we still snail mail to everybody. That's how you would find them electronically, where it says download on the download alert. So that's where whoever maintains the manuals in the district would get them, download them. If the board has any changes or revisions, they can do it. It's very simple. And we also offer training for anybody. I know often secretaries leave or they move to different positions in the district. Then we offer free training. We never charge anybody. And we always tell the editors, it takes you more than 5 minutes to remember how to do this, call us. If you're only going to do it 5 times a year, sometimes folks struggle. I said, just give us a call, and we have wonderful people in our office. We'll be happy to train them. Up at the top where it says other downloads, this is where when we send out those alerts at school threat assessment team, we put there quickly so someone can grab it, download it, and get it to their board quickly as well. We go, and ELAN Online is where it's the meat and potatoes of our website. ELAN stands for Education Law Access for New Jersey. On the left-hand side would be where district's policies can be housed. On the right-hand side is our core data. So you have access to all of our templates, our policy and regulation, we call them guides, because they're really just generic for all of our 576 clients. So they can be downloaded in Word, and you can change them to fit the school district's needs. We also put 18A and 6 and 6A. As soon as those updates come out, they're available via our website. If you ever have to go to the New Jersey legislative website and you're trying to get to 18A, 40A, and you get the next 5, the next 5, the next 5, by the time to 35, they time you out, you have to go over. All that is housed right within our website, so you're never leaving StraussEsme.com. And also that cumulative digest, that monthly newsletter, is also housed in here too. But can you just go to the policy guide, the red icon? Yeah. And go to the 5000s. And go with 5530, substance abuse policy. So in this is our guide section. This is the Strauss-Esme portion. On the right-hand side, we'll tell you whenever that was most recently updated by our staff or our offices. So here's our substance abuse policy. To the right, to the left-hand side, if there's a corresponding regulation, if you click on regulation, there you go. So that regulation, with that step-by-step process for the building level administrator, where do I do, what are our offenses if we, disciplinary-wise, first offense, second offense, third offense. You go back to the policy. Within that link to that policy are the statute and codes. So it's going to tell you what are the driving forces legally behind that policy, the 18A or the 6 or 6A. So you go back to the policy. And then if you go to digest, so if we reported anything on substance abuse, here's a summary of those cases. So if there's an instance that sounds like something that's happening in the district, you might want to pull that policy up. And we have all the cases, or now they're all available online, but if you want to say, send us that whole case, these are just summaries, but that's all linked to that as well. So if you go back to straussesme.com. Oh no, go back to Elan Online. Sorry. Oh no, go here. No. See she's going to kill me. If you go to policy guide search, and I've been doing this since 2001, so I could probably, if you give me a topic, I could hopefully give you the policy number within 2 digits. However, if most people don't know that, so if you're looking for your field trip policy, it's just a user, it will give you the obvious, the field trip, but then anything else that has the words field trip, and then field and trip, and it will highlight the student. So the third one, management of life-threatening allergies. Well, why do I need that with field trips? But if a child has some type of allergy, it's going to tell you the school nurse, self-administration of medication, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really, I hate to say it's a great tool because it's ours, but it's a great tool. It saves so much time. You can type in and you can find out what you need, at your fingertips at any time. Up across the top, we also provide something which the district has, is you're probably familiar with your public access online, which really feeds back to the district policies register. So here is your Matawan Aberdeen policies. If you go to the 5530, I just want to show the difference. The student section, yeah. So all that, the district online really has a lot of legalese in there. It has the statutes, the codes, it has the digest. On here, the substance abuse one, if you notice, when the public logs in, that legalese is not there. Here's your policy, and here's your bylaw. Some districts also put regulations, not everybody though. So that's right there. So they just see just the policy, which is great. If a general person wants to look up the statute or code, they can always do it. It's in there, but that's just, here's your policy and here's your bylaws hosted online. So that was a lot of information talking quickly. Anybody have any questions about any of that information? Oh, she just thought of it. Oh, what we provide on them.
So how many
Go
users
ahead.
can a district have?
For the district online portion, to host that online, there's 15 user passwords, and one of those is an editor. We strongly recommend one editor. We strongly recommend one editor because you don't know who's, one district wanted to have one for HR, one for this, one for that. I was like,
So Sandy, if tomorrow if I sit with Lindsay and review who the users are, I think we would be able to probably incorporate the word into this.
that's up to, some districts have,
I give you a new list of 15.
just email it to us. Yeah, and also some districts don't, if you have a big district, so, central office or building level people want it, and if they don't want to get extra passwords, they might give it to the board president or the policy committee because your policies are still available
Absolutely.
online via the district website. So if you want to be scrutinized, more, not fine because it's money, if you can always have more than 15, but there is an extra charge
I
for
think
extra.
we can get away with the word.
Yeah, if you look at the list, I know there's some people on that list that are no longer applicable, so.
I'll reach out to you when we get it started.
Perfect. Phil just wanted me to point out on the top of across the tabs across the top, we also have a CUSAC support tab. So if you are, I don't know if you're in the CUSAC loop or what you're being CUSAC, we provide the DPRs already filled out. So can you tell? I can't see that part. Yeah. So we provide, that there's different points. Oh, we can't do it with a Chromebook. It's on a Chrome. Oh, okay, so we do the DPRs, we fill them out for you. And each statement that you have to prove that you have a policy that's current, we actually list it. So if you've already done it, I apologize because it's done for you. Like here's your corresponding policy, affirmative action 1510, regulation 1510, and we put in those sheets on there we updated it in September 2019. So then you can look at the district's existing document. If you adopted it as of September 2019 or later, you know you have the most recent document. So it's really the self-assessment the board has to go through, and we fill in what the corresponding policies and regulations are, and you just have to provide your own assessment of what the most recent update was. Anything else you want to share? That's under the policy website. Yeah, the comprehensive equity plan is also on. It's not going to be able to open. Yeah, so we also provide that information filled in with policy numbers and dates as well provided for you too. So if all the districts in the state of New Jersey have to do it, since we have so many districts, we do that for everybody, so it's all available here. And if you ever hear something, well, we're doing this, the whole state has to do it, call us if we don't know about it. Some things we don't know. We don't know everything, and sometimes we're not in all the loops. We appreciate the information being notified. By the way, did you know we all have to do this? So it's very helpful when we get that feedback as well. Good. So Phil's going to just give you, I know there's, Dr. Mike asked to talk a little about the development process of a policy, where we get that information, how it's brought in the process. So Phil's going to talk to you a little bit about that.
Hi, everyone. Talking about how you put together a policy or regulation guide. Well, first of all, we track legislation, number one. And most of our revisions to policies and regulations are driven by a change in statute or a change in administrative code. Statute approved by the legislature, signed by the governor. Administrative code is supposedly to be consistent with the statute, and that is promulgated by the State Board of Education. So there should be a consistency between 18A, the statute, and a corresponding administrative code. And so what we do is we track the changes as they come. And some things sunset every 5 years, particularly administrative code. Statutes stay pretty much the same often. So what we do is we track legislation, and when it changes, if it has a policy implication, we actually revise the policy and send it out, like Sandy said, in a policy alert, downloadable in Word aid in addition to the hard copy. So we put it together that way. Now, what else do we do? Well, we look at a few things. Number one, when you do 575 or 572 school districts, at any given day, one of our school districts are under audit by either a state Office of Physical Accountability, State Office of Specialized Population, state special education audit, federal now COVID audits that are going on. So basically what we do is we're finding the feds now are coming down with all these requirements for policies that nobody ever heard of before. Yeah.
Also understand that we don't get notice when we come.
No. No.
In my 9 years here, at least 4 times people have knocked at the front door.
Yeah. So here's how we do that. So what happens is the Fed auditors want policies that nobody ever heard of before. So what we do is they'll give a school district a letter saying we need these policies, or we need these policies updated. Well, what we do is we go into the federal code, which is tough, or the federal procedures, and we write a policy. And then what we do is we give it to that school district to send to those monitors to say, is this okay? And if this is okay, then we send it out to everybody, so that when they come knocking on your door, you have them. Now, I have to tell you, the feds are tough. They're tough because they're out. The state of New Jersey is spending $7 million on 25 auditors to audit the largest school districts that receive COVID money. So we're getting calls from those districts saying, this is what they want to do, this is what they want. So we do it, and what we do, when we provide to everybody, we don't want you to have a problem. And that's what we do. So number one, monitoring. DIFAS, the CUSAC report. When they change a needs assessment that you must fill out, we get that, we make the change, we get it out to everybody. Comprehensive equity plan, something that every district has to do every 3 years. It requires policies. We'll tell you which policies to make sure you have them adopted by the board and make sure you've adopted them the most recent version, because we want to make sure you're working from the most recent version. So we have statutes, we have codes, we have monitoring requirements and all the monitors that are out there. That's important. We have case law, federal case law, and we have state case law. Basically, not everything is in the statute. So when we get case laws about a rice letter, well, there's no statute that says rice. You know, it's part of a statute that talks about how we have to notify employees when we're going to talk about them in executive session that could adversely affect their employment. So what we do is we try hard to get all those policies and procedures, regulations to school districts so that you can adopt them. Now I say that because you're free to make changes. We always say we're not the policy police. You are free to make changes. And there have been times over the years. Now I'm doing this full-time since 2003. So I'm on what, 20 years, right? I wrote policies for Strauss since I'm licensed to practice law in '94. And there are times when we say, you have to talk to your board attorney. We recommend you talk to your board attorney. Because we'll get a call sometimes and say, do we have to do this? And we'll say, no, you don't have to do it. You don't have to have it in your policy, but understand the fact that you still have to do it. You know, you don't have to have a lead testing policy, lead water testing policy. You don't have to have a policy, but you have to still do it. So what we do is we'll work with the school district to, when someone will call, superintendent will call, or assistant superintendent will call and say, I had a policy committee last night. They have 4 questions. Would you mind responding? Not at all. Send an email. I like an email so I can respond back so that if there's a follow-up question, we can get it back and forth. And that's what we do. We are spending, because we have virtually every district in the state, we're spending our time supporting districts. So our shift has gone from really dealing a lot with the content. Now we're doing updates and the school districts, the isolated school districts, they're coming, believe it or not, they still keep coming. But what we do is we support school districts and try to answer questions either coming from administrators or coming from board members. We like things to go through one person in the school district, obviously, for obvious reasons, but we want to respond. And usually it comes from the superintendent, the admin, the business administrator, admin, that says, how, can you help me with this? Or where did this come from? Or why? And we have those answers. We got filing cabinets of all the backup we need to support what we do. I want to just mention one thing, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions. We categorize our policies in 3 areas. We call them mandated, we call them recommended, and we call them suggested. I want to talk just a little bit about mandated. The policies we label as mandated are the kinds of things I've talked about. A statute will say the board must have a policy on this topic. And then sometimes it'll go further in the statute to say what it has to include. Sometimes the administrative code will say what it has to include. So number 1, expressly stated in a statute or code. 2, a monitoring requirement, QSAC, comprehensive equity plan, OFAC audit, federal audit. We call those policies mandated. We want to highlight for the board, these are important policies that are there. So that's another thing we look at. We also take some liberty in things that are that important. Like, for example, let's say lead testing, of water. Something really a health and safety issue. We'll put a mandated label on that. When we send it out, on the green sheet, we'll say it's of such high importance, we think it should mandated policy. We get calls. Is every sentence of every policy a mandated policy mandated? And the answer is not all the time. So what we say is if you're looking at a policy that has M on it, denoted M, there's nothing wrong with getting it through your contact with us to say, is this section mandated? Because sometimes not every single word of a mandated policy is mandated, and there's some flexibility. Sometimes there's not. Then we get to the other side, where we sometimes say to a board, if you're going to make a change that we think is contrary to the law, we don't tell you don't do it. That's not our role. We'll say to whoever is our contact person, that's something you should consider talking to your board attorney about. Every board has a special relationship with their board attorney. We're not the board attorney. We don't profess to be. We always want to supplement the board attorney. We have relationships with virtually every board attorney in the state. the educate, the experts, the people that do nothing but educational law. But we will come right out and say, it's something you should probably talk to your board attorney about. So I've been doing it I've been writing policies since 1994, and full-time when I retired from the Brick School District as superintendent in 2003. And, some people say it's boring. It's not boring these times. Might have been boring 10 years ago, and the worst thing we're worried about, immunizations, but now it's getting more and more complicated, and it's getting more and more demanding on a board. And unfortunately, you folks have to deal with keeping up with it. And sometimes people say, please stop. And I say, you don't think we just sit in our office and make up things. That's not something we do. Our job is to keep things informed. What's the best thing we love is when I read, and I know you folks will read too, legal cases that reference something we've developed. And we've developed it, and it says, for example, our inappropriate staff conduct policy when a school district is filing tenure charges against a staff member for crossing the professional boundary line. That's our 3281, 4281 policy and regulation. And when that's something that a school district goes to the arbitrator to get someone removed from a position, and our policies are stated as saying the district has these policies, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you find out that they become really valuable in a decision that comes down in favor of the board, that makes at least my day, because that's our job. I want to just add one more thing, and I'll take up the questions. Everyone has to understand one thing. What I personally think about something, or what we personally think about something, is not relevant, quite frankly. It's just not. It's what the law says, and it's what the law says. And if the law is ambiguous, we'll stay with the writing of the law. But we depend on a lot of things sometimes. For example, in my 20-something years of doing this, the Department of Ed has probably put out, at the most, 10 guidances. I mean comprehensive guidance documents to school districts. That's all, just 10, in all those years. Maybe one every couple of years, one every 2 years maybe we get. So we'll basically look at things and we'll say to a board, here's the source of this, and if you're concerned, here's where it came from, which your district will already have, the guidance document, and of course talk to your board attorney about that. We know there's a special relationship there with every board and every board attorney. So I'm available to answer any questions, as is Sandy and Laura. As you can see, I could probably talk about this forever, but
While we're on the subject, and I
Appreciate you bringing that up about mandated and whatnot.
yeah.
So there's a lot of confusion around the health policy. I know.
Yeah, I know.
We all like cringe, but yeah. So the last couple weeks with districts picking and choosing, there's so much confusion in there. Like, okay, so you have a policy, it says mandated, and like you said, some things maybe you could remove. So a process like some of the districts chose to pull out and vote separate on, like, how does that work?
Well, let's talk about it. I was called down to a school district in South Jersey a couple months ago, same question. And this is what I said. I said, look, that policy guide that talks about the health and physical education standards, we added in there, they were statutory changes, meaning approved by the legislature, signed by the governor. They weren't promulgated by the State Board of Ed. And quite frankly, understandably alarming to some. It's reasonably alarming. And what happens is that language in there, why do we do it? Why do we want it in the policy? And I want you to think about this for a second. Is we did it in the policy because when that information, superintendent has no choice but to address it, first of all, in the curriculum. How you address it is something that, at our seminar a couple of weeks ago, school districts are addressing it in different ways, but you have to address it. And how it's being addressed is not something that's being scrutinized, just that it's being addressed. So you're free to do that, and that's really important for you to do. So what I said to the school district is, look, you have the option to decide how it is, but why is it in the policy? Because what we don't want to have happen is have a parent, have the child come home and say, what'd you do at school today? One of these topics come up. Where's that parent going? Where's the first place to come? You're number one. You're exactly right. And what's the superintendent going to say is, this is the law. Furthermore, this is a policy of the board because it has to be. Because if you notice, under all of those issues, we actually put the statutory site so that somebody understands it's not your board. So what I told the board in South Jersey is a big district. And I said, now look, it's easy for me to say this, but when people come to your meetings and are reasonably upset about this, unfortunately, they're at the wrong place. Unfortunately, they're at the wrong... Now, I know it's easy for me to say, because I don't do this anymore, right? So what I say all the time is this, and a board member called me the next day. He was one that came in the meeting wanting to talk about this, and he called me the next day and said, Phil, I got to tell you, I appreciate what you told me. It's not easy to tell residents that come that we can't fix the problem. But understand the fact that that's coming right from legislation. So there's not a whole lot you can do. Now I want to just answer it one more way. I think the messaging on those revisions in the statutes could have been handled better. And unfortunately, I think each district is going to need to, has had to address it in a way to convince parents that we're not spending a semester on talking about one of those controversial provisions. We're not. And when you talk to superintendents, they're on it. When I tell you, the superintendents in the state, and I tell you, I talk to usually one a day about something. Usually it's not even about policy, it's more about practice. And the thing is, they'll tell you that we met with our community, we met with our parents. The idea of thinking that this is something that's going to dominate the curriculum is I'm not seeing any superintendent say to me, this is nothing more than being integrated into the curriculum in a very modest way consistent with the community's values and morals. I get it. Go ahead, Jay, I'm sorry.
To your point, Phil, that's exactly what the board did. With the budget.
Excellent.
We came together as a group, and we did exactly what you just said.
Well, I'll tell you how I know that. How I know that is at our seminar a couple weeks ago, this was a brown table, and who was there?
Mike.
And a young lady. It was a woman, too. I don't know who it was, but they said they came from this district, and this board did a real good job of working with the community and getting that together. So maybe it was an administrative district who had a child
I
here.
think it probably was.
Yeah.
I'll ask Mike.
Yeah, ask him. But it was very complimentary to the way you handled it. But by the way, not easy. It's not easy.
No, it's not. So I don't want to be too specific, but I'm just curious, and this is maybe something for another time. What we've been seeing in the last couple weeks in the other districts, it seems like they pulled something out and voted separate. So if a policy is mandated and that one line item is mandated, in my mind it is, and then they then pull it out and say, all right, we're good here, but we're going to take this and say no to it. That's not right.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because that was a debate also down there, is that situation. If the board decides to pull out certain provisions of that policy, that does, and even if it's pulled out and voted down, that still doesn't mean it doesn't have to be done. So let's be clear about that, right? It still has to be worked into the program, into the curriculum. So the idea of pulling it out, quite frankly, sends a message, right? Sends a message that we're not comfortable with this. And because the board down there asked me, what can we do? I said, there's things you can do as a board if you're not comfortable with any legislation. And that may be something like a resolution, contacting legislators. I mean, all of those things that are available to you for any other thing, the way we're governed in this state and other in our country, you have a right to do it. And the board talked about that, is we're going to pull this out, we're going to break it out separately, we're going to vote no, understanding the fact that the superintendent still has to do it, but what we're going to do is we're going to then send that resolution to legislators, because I have no problem saying here, because I don't have a dog in this hunt, right? And the answer is pretty simple, is it's the legislation that is. This is not promulgated by a bureaucrat. This is promulgated by actual statutes that say this. And to send a message, there's nothing wrong with sending a message, but please respect the fact that the administration, the superintendent administration of the school district still has to make sure that they are teaching the New Jersey student learning standards.
I have a question.
Thank you.
You keep saying it has to be done. It has to be done. And I would like to know, what are the consequences of the school board not adopting the mandated portions of a policy?
Well, let me just rephrase your question. What's the consequences if a school district does not teach the New Jersey student learning standards?
Okay.
Now, by the way, there's how many learning standards, Jeff? There's how many? Many. You can't even count them. So if this board says, under no circumstances are we going to touch these 3 items, right? I don't know, there's no provisions what the consequences are. That would be something that the county superintendent would probably have to work with the superintendent and decide what's going to happen. I've never heard of anything happening. So by saying we're not going to do this, I should say this, there are cases. Yeah, there are cases. I'm sure your board attorney knows. There are cases out there where they have voted no. The board voted no on those provisions. And they also went some further, they went one step further and said, we're going to require parents to opt in, meaning you have to say yes to us rather than opt out. Tell us you don't want your child involved in that. And in that case, it only has gone as far as the Ethics Commission. And the Ethics Commission has said, I never heard them say this in my years, they have said that if in fact a Board of Education changes the opt-out provision to opt-in, that the board would be breaking the law. Now, what do? I don't know. Never been done. What could they do? I don't want to even, I mean, what's the worst they can do? Withhold funding, right? Do I say they would do that? I've been doing this for 44 years. I've never heard of them withholding funding for somebody not teaching a New Jersey student learning standards. Could they hurt the monitoring requirement? Could it impact getting approved under QSAC? Possibly. I don't want to say anymore because I don't want to suggest anything, right? But there are things that could happen, right? I don't know. But I want to say something. The issue you're addressing is a real issue. You're not the only board in the state that's having concerns about that legislation. You're not. As an individual board member or as a board in general. You know, I don't know where anybody sits on the issue, but quite frankly, it's understandable and reasonable. It surely is.
Mine's a more procedural, not controversial question. So I'm working with the policy committee. Right now, we were updating our technology policies. What I'm thinking of, though, for this is well, okay, all right. My question is, do you all ever do like guidance for policies based on the overall situation that a district has? What I'm thinking of is when we found with the school student appropriate use of technology policy that there were quite a few times in it that it said things like students, you know, if they violated, they inappropriately used the technology, then they would lose access. And that's not practicable in our district, and so we're
You could change it.
Oh, yeah, okay, we're working to change it, but I didn't know if that's probably not practicable in many districts, and I didn't know if there's like, okay, if you are one-to-one Chromebook and all of your curriculum is delivered on Chromebooks, you're in this column. If that's not how you work, you're in this column. Does that ever happen?
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we will say to people, too, when we put that information out, that the district's free to make changes.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So when that policy guide was put out originally, if you would have checked the green sheet when it was
Yeah.
mailed out, you'd probably see that the district can adjust this the way they would like. But we also say, give us a call, too. Because chances are, if you're asking for something,
That's what I'm thinking.
somebody else is also.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, you're not alone. I mean, that's just what, yeah.
That's what I was just wondering.
Yeah,
We
like,
went through
I
2
think it's
months
the
of
dress
changes
code.
that probably have already been done
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah, but call, because we also see it all. So if we don't have it available online, we have a sample policies that aren't even up there. We have 300 other sample policies that we've developed for a district, a onesie, you know, just a one-timer, and then we save that. And if somebody calls, say, oh, I remember we did that district, we have it labeled under certain numbers and indexed.
We'll keep that in mind for next time.
Call, just call. Any other questions I can answer for you? No, listen, that's why I'm here.
I guess my biggest question is that you said the mandated policies, you make sure it's all covered in there to protect the school district, right? So the parent, you could say to the parent, well, it's in our policy.
Well, in that
kinda
case,
see that as a-
yes, it's to provide cover.
Right.
It's to provide cover for the administration and the board to say, this is where it came from. It's not a board directive. Here's a statute that.
So where's the difference between that and also what you're saying is being able to tailor specifics to the community?
Well, if we provide a policy guide to the school district and someone says, I don't like it, I don't like provisions of this, our answer is get that to us and we'll respond. And we'll respond, and we'll do that. And we'll say where you have flexibility and where you don't. We are not, believe me, we are not offended if somebody comes back and says, I don't like this provision, because typically there'll be a source for that. Controversial issues, believe me when I tell you, controversial issues, when we get to those issues, they're not stuff that we make up. Well, what we'll do is, we'll put a best practice. We'll develop a best practice for like how you handle the distribution of supplies. You know, we'll do best practice for that. But when it comes to the issues that are in today's news, those issues, we don't take liberties. If a statute or a code is ambiguous, we leave the language just like it is in the statute and code. Why? Because that's only going to be resolved through litigation. And let a district make a decision, if in fact they see it, to make a decision where they want to go with it. We don't want to ever do anything that someone says that policy took liberties that's not in a statute or a code that's controversial. We won't do that.
Right, so I mean, we've had that actually where something was ambiguous and we were able to kind of do what we wanted with it in making a decision, right?
Yeah.
So that helps us.
Yeah, and you can send it, and if you want us to look at it before you adopt it, but after you tweak it, we're happy to do that. Just email it.
Okay, so what about, how do we determine within the policy what you're saying? So you're saying every time
I'll
it's
tell
going to
you.
be to the
I'll tell you
letter
how
of
to do
the,
it.
whatever the exact statute was, every single time?
Yep.
So if it's in there like that, we know that that's how it was written in the statute.
I'll tell you how to do that. And then I'll tell you the way to do it, and I'll tell you the way to give you two options. One is every policy we have has citations of statutes and codes. And you could go to our database and check the statutes and codes and see if this is in the law. Now, that's the hard way. The easiest way is just have somebody from the district send us an email and say, is this mandated? Is this part of mandated? Now, I did a little this at a seminar a couple weeks ago to talk about this in this way, it's hard to go through the statutes and codes. And that's a lot of work. So if in fact you have a question, whoever's funneling stuff to our office, just send it to us. And because there's no pride of ownership here. We want it to be right and want you to be comfortable with it. That's what's really important. And we have no reason not to say, look, this is from best practice, or here's the site it comes from, or here's the monitoring document it comes from, or here's the federal regulation it comes from, because we have a file that thick on every policy that we work on. Because everything we work on, we always keep the backup in hard copy.
Right, and so the website that you showed us, we have I guess this is a question for Dr. Michael.
Tomorrow we're going to add a list of who the users are.
So we can get into as many board members. Yes.
Okay.
And just so you know about that, and we would be happy if you want to, we can retrain somebody that can maybe then train your people if you want to do this on the next board meeting or something like that. It's pretty simple. If you can shop online, you can use our website.
Yeah, I'll have Mike reach out.
Perfect. Yeah, Sam, yeah, we'll put
I'll
that.
get the list to Sandy tomorrow about
Sure.
new users.
Beautiful.
Our 15, so to speak.
It's terrific.
I just want to, real quick, I don't know if Cedal's done yet, but I just wanted to say that I think, Annette, this is something that we could do at another time if we wanted to, like a real down training, if these guys have a lot of questions and really want to learn. Yeah, so that might be something moving forward, if, you know, these guys want to get into it, because it's interesting, and, you know, you guys do it every day, and again, I've been here 10 years, but a lot of this is still very interesting to me, so there, you know, maybe we will fall on you.
And if you're a tech person, if that person communicates with us and we run them through and they're comfortable doing it, fine. If not, we'll come. If we're in Tom's River, we'll come up for a couple hours. We'll come up, you buy the coffee, and we'll come up. Yeah, it'll be
Jay
great.
will have an ice cream truck here.
Jay will? Dr. Jay?
Yeah,
Whatever
Mr.
you
Softy.
want, but I drink tea. So.
Oh, yeah,
Listen,
green tea.
Yeah, but we'll be, if your person would say, you know what, I'd like for Strauss to come, we'll come up and we'll train 10 people. We do. We'll train you right around the room. You put us in a place where you get 10 computers and internet access, and we'll do it. Yeah, it is very interesting stuff. It really is. My pleasure.
Any other questions?
I mean, no, nothing.
Listen, thank you. Two things. Sandy and I, Laura, thanks for, number one, thanks for having us. We really appreciate the relationship we've had. We were looking, it goes back probably 20 years. So if we could ever help, that's why we're here. So thanks a lot. David, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. We're going to scoot, is that okay?
Yes. Beat the rain.
What'd you say?
Beat the rain.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
So we are going to move on to the board president's report, really just a couple of items for tonight. First is just to remind the public to check your emails. An email went out today on subscription busing, and we'll put that up on the district Facebook page as well. The information is there. To apply, it must be done electronically, and it's due July 14th electronically, correct? Subscription busing?
Yes. It's already.
Perfect. Perfect. So that's one thing. Also, I know we stated at last meeting, Mr. Ahern's seat is open. It's a Madawan seat. We have put out information on the district website as well as the district Facebook page as well as in the press, letting everyone know that it is available. You have until July 10th to apply for the position, and that position would be available till the next reorg meeting, which happens in early January. And the special meeting where we will vote on that position will be July 13th. And then lastly, just wanted to say, again, I know we've said it already, but congratulations to all those students that were promoted over the past couple of weeks, as well as all the high school graduates. It was a great day on Friday, and a lot of us were able to be there and celebrate with the students, all their hard work, and we wish you all the best for a happy, healthy, and prosperous future. And lastly, we want to thank the staff for a wonderful year, and all your hard work really is very much appreciated. And to the whole school community, just want to wish you a happy and healthy summer, and hope you enjoy your time with friends and family. And yes, Stephanie.
Lindsay's going to run the table on the agenda as Nellie and Mike are not here tonight, so.
Okay. So, perfect. So we have curriculum and instruction.
Good evening. We're looking to take action on curriculum and instruction. We will look for A, and then B, 1 through 4.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
A motion. I'll second.
Student services.
We are looking to take actions on items 1 through 2. And that completes special services.
Great. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Personnel.
Personnel is a little longer, but we're looking to take action on items A, B, C 1 through 9, D 1 through 6, And then also on tonight, you have an item for walk-in. It was only that the home instruction teacher was listed twice, so we just needed to ensure the one that was not listed is. So that's the only change for the walk-in on personnel, so action on those.
Great, can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Motion. A second.
Great. There's no policy tonight. Finance?
And finance, we are looking to take action on items 1 through 21 this evening.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on agenda items? I just have one thing I wanted to point out. I think we said it last meeting too. Under the student services, number 1, I know the cost seems relatively large there every year. However, I did want to point out that by working with ESS, we do save the district about $4 million, correct, roughly? So that's been a huge help because the more students we can keep in district, the more money we can save. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Then we are going to move on to public comments on agenda items and additional matters. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on matters of interest to the school community. Individuals wishing to speak must state their name and municipality of residence. Comments are limited to 3 minutes duration, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. All statements should be directed to the board president, and no participant may address or question board members individually. All speakers are requested to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others whose legal rights may be affected. Please note, while it is not the board's intention to stifle comment on matters of legitimate concern, the public should be aware that if their statements violate the rights of others under the law of defamation or invasion of privacy, they may face personal liability to the injured party. If speakers are uncertain of the legal ramifications of their comments, the board urges them to seek guidance beforehand from their own legal advisor.
Casey Barilka, Farmingdale, New Jersey. Just real quick on the back page, there's a typo, that's all. It says that a drill was conducted at 2:46 a.m. I don't think that was the case, so it's probably 2:46 p.m.
How do you know it wasn't?
Well, I know Mr. Cronin's trying to impress the board, but that would be a little out of line.
Thank you, Casey.
Okay. No other public comments, so we're going to take action on agenda items for curriculum and instruction, student services, personnel, as well as the walk-in item and finance.
Ms. Vilas?
Yes.
Ms. Gershner?
Yes.
Mr. Montone?
Yes.
Ms. Pell?
Yes, with the addition on finance transportation number 21, that is 2:46 p.m. is when that medical emergency shelter-in-place drill was conducted.
So noted. Ms. Burrell?
Yes.
Ms. Warnicki?
Yes.
Ms. Martinez?
Yeah.
Mrs. Foley?
Yes, but I do need to abstain from personnel, extracurricular, line number 9. Everything else is yes. Okay.
So noted.
Any unfinished business? Any new business? Oh, sorry, yes, Ms. Wernicke.
I just wanted to say the policy committee is pretty much, I would say, close to being wrapped up with some of the updates to the technology policy. Just generally speaking, we were looking to update some of the language. They were still mentioning pagers and beepers and things like that. And also just through our research of it, I think that a lot of it has to do with making sure that the policies and regulations that are on the books are really enforced, to the extent that they should be. And I think with the new school year, we can hopefully kind of remind everybody what those rules are for personal technology use and make sure that it kind of goes along with the lawsuit that we joined to, get the kids to sort of live in the real world a little bit more.
Yes. Ms. Bell?
And piggybacking on that, just to inform the board, I will be calling together, we'll finish up the technology policies to pass them to staff. They are changed, but we just need to send the changes to staff to review and before that ever comes to vote. But then in addition, I want to discuss with the policy committee whether there really need to be changes to dress code or substance use in the policy, because so far, my own quick read, it looks like maybe it's more of an enforcement issue again.
Thank you for the update.
Mrs. Scully, I
Yes.
just wanted two things. One, also I wanted to congratulate everybody, and I also wanted to say that due to the weather, it was funny looking out at the kids. They were so good. They just handled it. They just sat there and water's dripping off their noses, so they were very cute. And I just want to give them kudos to that, because they just kind of did what they had to do, and we got through it and laughed. But the other thing is, I wanted to remind people about the yearly Chris-June soccer game that we always have at the high school. And it's going to be, this year, it's on July 14th on a Friday at 6:30. It is on our website. Mrs. Scully shared it on our Facebook board page. And this is for a game that we play every year for a boy that has passed in our district years ago. Rain date is also listed for the following week. And, you can also purchase shirts and whatnot there. So that's 6:30 on July 14th. And again, it's on the website, the Facebook page, and we appreciate it. That's it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mojo.
Just like to say again, the flag's in the wrong place again. To me, that's an insult to put that flag in the wrong place. And 90% of the time it's in the wrong place. I don't understand. Don't understand.
Just one final thing. So I'm officially now no longer a parent of a student in this district. The high school graduation was fantastic, so thanks to everybody involved in that, Mr. Eiler and all the staff, and Ms. Walling, everybody that was there, the chaperones, and it was really a great occasion. And I can't express enough how well prepared my students are to go on. My daughter already is a testament to this district. She did phenomenally well compared to kids from all over the country. She goes to a big school down south, so that was really good to see that she was so well prepared for that with this education and everything, social education, activities, all of that she was able to have. Really prepared her well for school, and I expect the same thing for my son, and I truly appreciate it.
Going to move to executive session. Be it resolved that a closed session be convened for the purpose of discussing privacy, personnel, and attorney-client matters. The subject matter of these discussions will be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality subsides. Although the board cannot guarantee it, the length of the executive session is estimated to be 30 minutes, after which the public, no more than 30 minutes, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and proceed with business. Action may take place. Can I get a motion and a second to enter executive session?
All motion.
All in favor?
Aye.